What do you think about Colorado removing Trump from the ballot? In practical terms, it doesn't matter. Colorado tends to vote Democrat, so it's not going to affect the electoral vote. If Colorado's decision is upheld by the US Supreme Court, it could encourage other states to take similar action, but, again, it's sort of beside the point unless Trump is removed from the ballot in red states or purple states that could go either way. So, hypothetically, if Trump is removed from the ballot in Illinois, it won't matter, because Illinois is a blue state, but if Trump is removed from the ballot in Florida or Texas, since it will most likely be overturned by the Supreme Court, and the authors knew it would be, really just more political theater. Doesn't matter if you hate Trump or love him or anything in the middle, piecemeal state legislation impacting a presidential election is wasting legislative resources and makes the US look hypocritical when we deride other countries enacting laws to eliminate political opponents to the majority in power. And it is certainly not the actions of a healthy democracy. Reading these comments showed just how scared the Democrats are. They depend on fuzzy at best court rulings and laws to remove him. If he truly is the worst person who's ever lived and such an awful president, can't the Democrats beat him? From the way everyone talks about him, winning against him should be a layup. I know everyone here will blame his crazy base, but the Democrats should still been able to beat him if he's such a terrible person. If you can't, he deserves to win. Of course I'm going to be downvote, even if Op asked it for our own personal opinion, so there is no right or wrong, but I think it's anti-democratic and opens a precedent that any place in USA can stop accepting any politician they want from the voting in that region. That is not good for democracy in the future. If something like that happened in my country, we would be even worse in the corruption and easier to remove opposition from the dictators. He's a straight fascist, get him out. GOP is such a joke. You only hear about the extremists and they can't get popular vote because of this, so then the moderate Republicans actually trying to help their constituents can't get any political work done. If Republicans in here actually care about their right-leaning platforms, maybe don't be a psychopath. I'm not even saying Biden is an excellent president, he was the best of the worst choices. If there is a factual finding that he engaged in insurrection against the Constitution, it's self-executing. He's ineligible. Someone who will be 34 in 2025, or is a naturalized citizen, or is Barack Obama cannot run for president either. They're not eligible. So presumably a court would remove them from the ballot too if they insisted. Colorado has a law prohibiting political parties from running ineligible candidates on their lines. I think it is a very interesting legal case. While I see and understand the intent of the plaintiffs, I do not think this will pass muster with the SCOTUS. SCOTUS has ruled many times that elected persons are not officers of the United States, which CEO is claiming in their decision. However, they went against long precedents with Roe v. Wade. I think it will be a close decision though, against, probably 5-4. I'm not pro-Trump, but it doesn't help our nation in this way. Quality democracies and constitutional republics don't use petty political maneuvers to keep someone out of office or to go after a previous elected official. He hasn't been convicted of anything yet. Again, I'm not promoting him, I'm just saying this isn't a healthy step and I am concerned for the consequences that could come from this. It's political theater. First, it's not like a GOP candidate is going to win CEO. Second, the GOP will just caucus. Third, it will create more support for Trump since he's in the news. People that hate him are never going to vote for him, so nothing has changed there. People that love him are going to vote for him regardless. The undecided are likely to be swayed a bit, so net this is positive for Trump. I'm just still so shocked that we've come to this point. And all it took to blow apart all the norms and standards was this orange bozo who somehow has developed this cult-like following for reasons that... I can see the initial appeal to the fuck your feelings types, but how it has held on to their devotion through all of this to even make it relevant, I will never understand. While I believe it is a job of the judicial branch to interpret our laws, I also believe in due process. Like him or not, the man has not been found guilty of leading an insurrection. Levying such a severe punishment against someone without due process sets a very dangerous precedent, and if Democrats are supporting this, they're just as blind as those supporting Trump. Someone needed to do it because we need this question settled. One way or another, Trump running again provokes serious constitutional questions and every judge has been trying to avoid them. SCOTUS doesn't want to touch this, I'm sure, but they need to. Whatever the outcome, they need to find a way to legitimately put this matter to rest. I wish it had happened sooner. I'm a bit concerned because while this is a law, it unfortunately doesn't have a ton of popular support and it will very likely go to the Supreme Court. We know about the current Supreme Court now. When it gets overturned, it will embolden Republicans. Fighting a battle that is likely to lose in the end is rarely a good strategy, no matter how righteous the cause. Judging from the comments here, you came to the wrong place if you wanted a nuanced answer. 1. Irrelevant is Supreme Court will overturn. 2. If Supreme Court doesn't, Colorado GOP will elect him directly with no primary. 3. Trump is the frontrunner in the election. Any answer has to consider that many people consider him the best choice to lead the country. I'm a libertarian and I don't care about either of the traditional sides, left versus right. I have policy positions that fall on both sides. I will say that what is going on in the United States and the precedents that are being set are terrifying. It seems like all bets are off and neither side seems to mind kicking open Pandora's box. It's bullshit. The same people screaming insurrection are also the same people who thought it was hilarious when the far left attempted to enter the White House, burn down a guardhouse, and force Trump into a bunker. That was perfectly fine to them. They laughed about the bunker thing. They're a bunch of liars and hypocrites. I think it sets a dangerous precedent. Whether you like Trump or not, removing a popular candidate from the ballot is a horrible precedent that threatens all future elections. If they can remove the current frontrunner from the ballot, they can remove anyone whose politics or policies they don't like. I mean, it was insurrection. Just because he was in on the front lines during Jan 6, he was literally on the podium saying we're going to walk down Pennsylvania Avenue and we're going to the Capitol after claiming election fraud and shitting on the entire process. There's no integrity with him. I think it should be glaringly suspicious that the same officials are trying to block RFK's votes in Colorado as well. It should be concerning to anyone no matter what party you align with. They're crossing partisan lines to hinder and censor specific candidates. That's so obviously wrong. Did he participate in an insurrection? Yes. Are people who participate in insurrections barred from holding office? Yes. 14th Amendment, Section 3. Therefore, can Trump be barred from holding office? Yes. What's the issue? It depends on whether you believe Jan 6th was an insurrection. He clearly baited them on and called them patriots, so you can't pretend he has nothing to do with it. If you do, then they've correctly followed the letter of the 14th Amendment of the US Constitution. I think it's sad that it even had to come for that. And I mean that from the standpoint of how unbelievable it is that we're even faced with Trump going on another presidential run and that he's even remotely close to having a chance. I'll never understand it. If you do things to undermine democracy, you have no business being in any position of power in a democratic institution. Of course opponents will pounce on this and it may energize their base. But on principle, it's impossible to disagree with. Not sure if this is the one people think this is. Will just further increase his argument that the system is rigged against him. Not that I'm a fan of his or anything, but somehow I just feel like this will give him more ammunition to work with. Just remember one thing. Right now a lot of liberals like this. But just remember how happy you are about this when they do it to someone you like. Things like this can go both ways. So be careful what you wish for, it can backfire on you. I would have preferred a conviction on the matter prior to this decision. Failing to honor due process while making legal decisions based on opinions and feelings sets a horrible precedent and is as anti-democracy as it gets. As a rightist, I'm happy. I want more Biden because I want to see things get worse and further radicalize the right. There aren't political solutions to our problems, and I want Republicans to understand this. Voting is fake. Definitely interesting. I can't imagine there's been another time a major party candidate got removed from a state's ballot. And it'll certainly be interesting to see how the Supreme Court handles it, assuming it goes there. The election process should be as unbiased as possible. This is moronic and wrong. Does Colorado think that Trump might win the state? That is representative of Colorado's population. This should be unconstitutional. After reviewing evidence, a court found he participated in an insurrection. The Constitution says insurrectionists can't run for office. There's nothing to think. This is the way it's supposed to work. I think this is a dumb fucking move. He has not been proven guilty in a court of law of insurrection. I will not be surprised if GOP-controlled states use this and decide to remove Biden from ballots. SCOTUS is currently the center of attention. Since they serve as a check on the executive branch, it will be intriguing to observe whether Trump's own appointees continue Colorado's these traditions. I think it is dangerous what Colorado has done. What Trump did was ridiculous, but he has not been convicted of anything. This just sets a bad precedence for when Republicans get back in power. I support the sentiment, but I felt like it was done prematurely. I would have preferred they waited for him to actually be convicted of insurrection in some capacity before ruling him ineligible. I think it sets a dangerous precedent since the evidence is circumstantial at best. Secondly, I don't think it matters since Colorado went for Hillary in 2016. It's pure virtue signaling, since a majority of white folks voted for Trump in 2016. Then even more voted for him in 2020 after all the shit show, and according to the survey, yet even more want to vote for him. I don't like Trump, but I think this is going to open Pandora's box in a way most people aren't expecting. The best way to deal with Trump is to put his ass in prison where he belongs. To see a free American citizen being stripped of his rights is pretty disgusting. It's typical liberal and democratic behavior. You can't beat him, so you just remove him. LMFAO. Smiley face. That's kind of the point of the amendment. It's the first real consequence I've seen Trump get. It's actually pretty bullshit. The other 49 states haven't done it as well. So they accuse a guy of trying to overthrow democracy by banning democracy. I'm all for the legalization of drugs, but maybe the state officials ought to slow down a bit. I hate Trump, but he legally hasn't been found guilty of the insurrection. So I question the total legality of it. But fuck it, I hate Trump. Screw him. Don't think much about it. He was an okay president, we've had worse, but a shit person. I'll just be glad when we no longer have to deal with any of that crap. We have a judicial system for a reason to pass judgment on the law. This will surely end up at the US Supreme Court and a decision will be made there.